welcome to the Bhagavad-Gita class. And we're in chapter 7. Knowledge of the Absolute. But I'll read the auspicious prayers. Om Gana Tamarandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Taksvamalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swami Rupa Padakam Swantikam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gomrangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Praye Vanta Kapis Tubis Cha Kripa Sindhu Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Naha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Siddhi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is by His very divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, Chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, Text 16. Chatareha Bhajadante Mam.
Text number?
16. 1-6, yes. Chaturvidya bhajante mam.
Chaturvidya bhajante mam.
Jana sukritino juna.
Jana sukritino arjuna.
Arto didakshur artati.
Arto vijasu artati.
Jnani cha bharatar sabha.
Jnani cha bharatar sabha.
Word for word. Chaturvidha. Four kinds of. Bhajante. Render services. Mam. Unto me. Jana. Persons. Sukritana. Those who are pious. Arjuna. O Arjuna. Artaha. The distressed. Jignasu, the inquisitive. Artha Arti, one who desires material gain. Jnani, one who knows things as they are. Cha, also. Bharata Risabha, one great one amongst the descendants of Bharata. Purport and translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So please repeat. O best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Purport. Unlike the miscreants, these are adherents of the regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called Sukritana, or those who obey the rules and regulations of scriptures, the moral and social laws, and are more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these, there are 4 classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the absolute truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees because they have some aspirations to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 defines pure devotion thus: Anyabilashita sunyam jnana karmani anavritam anukoyena krishnanu silanam bhakti uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. When these 4 kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them, devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees and become, in their distress, devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service, and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, and come to the personal conception of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities, the search for mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service. Mukam karati vatalam pagam lagayate girim yad kripatam aham vande shigaram dina tardanam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the deliverer of the fallen souls. His mercy turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. So I seek the blessings of the devotees here that I can share something and just be like a parrot and repeat what I've heard coming down from the Parampara. So I'll talk a little bit about the previous verse. So in this previous verse 15, Prabhupada talks about those persons, those miscreants who are grossly foolish and the lowest of mankind. and whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of atheistic nature of demons. They don't surrender unto Krishna. So these are the impious persons. So they fall into 4 categories. And these are the mudhas, who are just working very hard, like beasts of burden. Actually, I remember listening to some of Srila Prabhupada's lectures, and he says that he calls these people hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. He was pretty straightforward about their mentality. And then the second class are Duskriti, or the miscreants, and they're called the Naradama, or the lowest of mankind. And number 3, the next class, is called the Mayaparita Jnanaha. And then the last class of Duskrita is called Asuram Bhavam Ashrita, or those of demoniac principles. And in chapter 16, we can see nowadays that the world is completely ruled by these people, these impious demoniac people. And in chapter 16, Prabhupada describes the demoniac mentalities. And I think it was 16:9, yes. It's saying that the demoniac, they engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. So they want to enjoy the material world to the utmost limit. And they're always inventing something for their sense gratification. But they're also inventing things to destroy the general populace, the innocent people who follow them. So he says here that all these materialistic inventions are considered to be an advancement of human civilization, but the result is that people grow more and more violent and more cruel to animals and cruel to other human beings. So practically we can see in the world this is what's going on. The daily slaughter of animals, the daily slaughter of cows, all kinds of animals, and no one is actually, even concerned about the fact that there's souls in these bodies. They don't have a clue of the whether they kill them or not. It doesn't make any difference to them, So they just saw them for their sense gratification. And it's saying that they have no idea how to behave, no idea at all how to behave. We can look around. We have practical examples of everything that's going, particularly now. We can see how Kali Yuga is progressing more and more because there are no concerns for, their fellow human beings, what to speak of, the animals. And he's saying here that animal killing is very prominent amongst the demoniac people. Such people are considered the enemies of the world because ultimately they will invent or create something which will bring destruction to all. So they're working on that already. So as devotees, we can see that there's no such thing as normal in the material world. There's no normal situation, not for devotees particularly, there's no, because we're all devotees and servants of the Supreme Lord. And this is where we belong with the Lord, not here in the material world. Prabhupada calls this the stool house. What do you do in the stool room? You do your business and you get out. That's what Prabhupada says, you do your business. You don't just linger or stroll along and be comfortable, because it's a very dangerous place and it's becoming more and more dangerous. So we don't want to come back here. We want to do our business, totally focus on the Supreme Lord and try to get out of here. So we'll go on to 16, which are, Prabhupada in here is talking about the pious men, the ones that began to render devotional service. And those are the distressed. Sometimes, people will come to this movement because they get relief from stress. I know when I first came to the movement, I was like totally relieved that the material world, the reality I thought I was seeing, wasn't really real, that it was an illusion and it was temporary. I was very relieved to see, that. And then we have the desire of wealth. What I want to say about the distress is sometimes when they become distressed and they come to the movement, we know when we first come to the movement, we're totally happy. We're so glad to have that, our spiritual master has given us this knowledge. And we're so relieved and happy to be doing service. But sometimes, some people, once the distress is relieved, then they leave the movement. They don't stay. And then there's the seeker of wealth, the desire of wealth. So I want to talk about, in our scriptures, there are a lot of examples of those persons who came looking for Krishna because of being distressed, and one of them was Gajendra. So we know that Gajendra, chapters had, I don't remember which Bhagavad-Gita it is. Do you know? Does anyone know which canto? Gajendra? I'm thinking it's 9. Anyway, he's the chief of the elephants, and he's thinking he's enjoying. He has his she-elephants with him, and he's just, having female friends and bathing in the lakes near the Trikuta mountain. And he's totally oblivious to the danger that's around because he's enjoying so much. I remember when I first came to the institute where my Guru Maharaj was in Washington, D.C. I don't know if any of you remember, there's a huge art book. I don't know if it's called Krishna Art, but it was open to the page of Gajendra, which is probably why I started with that story. Because when I looked at it, even though I wasn't familiar with the story of Gajendra, I was new. I wasn't sure what was happening, but when I looked at it, it just touched my heart. Because the first thing that came to mind was, this person's in trouble. This animal is definitely in trouble from being distressed. So then, he's attacked by a powerful crocodile. And this fight between Gajendra and the crocodile goes on for 1,000 years. And what happens is, because the crocodile is in his element, he's getting stronger. But the elephant, Gajendra, is getting weaker. So as he begins to face his death, as what happens to a lot of people, when something happens that's dangerous or someone's life is in danger, the first thing they say, what do they say? They say, "Oh God." That's the first thing they say is, "Oh God." Even though they haven't been worshiping God or, whatever, but the first thing they say is, "Oh my God." But because Gajendra in his last life was in Dayuna Swami, he was a devotee, he remembered prayers. So, from his previous life, so he's praying. to Krishna, to be free from the material conception of life. And he asked to be engaged in the Lord's service. So, of course, the Lord frees him. Because Gajendra picked up a lotus and he was reaching up, handing it, to the Lord, crying for the Lord to please save him from his distress. And because he's calling for the Lord, the demigods, they see what's going on, but because he's calling for the Lord, they cannot go there. Only the Lord comes on his Garuda, on his eagle carrier, Garuda. And then Gajendra achieves, liberation and association with the Lord in Vaikuntha. So that's an example of, a distressed person. And the prayer that he's offering is very beautiful. So I'll read it to you. There's a lot of prayers, but I picked some prayers out that really resonated with me. So he's saying, my dear Lord, I have no experience of the transcendental bliss derived from your devotional service. So therefore, I have asked from you some favor. So he's asking for a favor. And as we spoke before, we're not asking. We should give devotional service, not expecting anything from the Lord, not asking for anything, but just giving our undivided attention and not asking anything in return. Prabhupada says if you're asking for something in return from the Lord, it's just business. It's a business. I'll do this. I'll give you devotional service. In return, I would like to have this. Whatever it is, a good husband, a good wife, money, a car, peaceful life. Because my Guru Maharaj used to say that a peaceful life and Krishna consciousness don't go well together. There's always going to be disturbances, but because we're trying to take shelter of the Lord and trying to surrender to the Lord, then we get that shelter, and Krishna is always there for us. We just turn to him. So I was reading, but I'll continue the prayer. But I know that persons who are pure devotees and have, by serving the lotus feet of great souls, become freed from all material desires, are always merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss, and as such are always satisfied simply by glorifying your auspicious characteristics. For them, there's nothing else to aspire or pray for. So, as we look through the scriptures, through the Srimad Bhagavatam especially, all the cantos are full of beautiful prayers that devotees offer to the Lord, because he's worthy to be praised, as we used to say when I was going to church. The Lord is worthy to be praised. So that's one, example of someone in our scriptures who was distressed. So these four classes of people, they're not, pure devotees, because they have some aspirations. They want to fulfill some desire that they have. They want some material profit. But if they're fortunate, they come in contact with a pure devotee. And then they themselves become pure devotees. There's another, the next one that I read to you was the desire of money, the person who wants wealth. So we can see that persons who have a lot of money, money, as they say, is the honey. And money, a lot of money, corrupts a lot of people. They think that money can buy time. So in the one person who, in the scriptures, who's asking for wealth is Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was a 5-year-old who wanted to sit on his father's lap. His father was King Uttanapad. And King Uttanapad had 2 wives, Suniti and Susuchi. I think that's her name, the favorite wife. But because the king was so attached to the second wife, when Dhruva Maharaj went to sit on his lap, the second wife pulled him off and told him, "You can't sit on his lap. In order to sit on his lap, you have to be born from my womb." And Dhruva Maharaj was very, very disturbed and went to talk to his mother, Suniti. But she told him because of her position, she couldn't help him. There's nothing she could do. And that he should just try to find the Supreme Lord and pray to the Lord to help him. So he leaves home. Now he's a 5-year-old child, 5, 6 years old. He went to the woods. He wanted to get more wealth than Brahma has. He wanted a kingdom more opulent than Brahma. So he was there trying to do austerities. But when he first came to the woods, Narada Muni came there to try to talk him out of it. To say, "You're young, why are you out here in the woods trying to do this? You should just go home." But because Dhruva had a Kshatriya mentality, he was like, "I'm not going anywhere until I get what I desire." So then Narada Muni, seeing that Dhruva was determined to do this, to do these austerities, he told him what to do. So in this process of doing these austerities, he even stopped his breathing, which disturbed all the living entities. So then, of course, the demigods went to the Lord to tell him, "Can you please talk to Dhruva, because all of us are suffering because of his austerities. So could you please, go talk with him?" So the Lord goes and he talks to Dhruva and he, stops his austerities. But when Dhruva saw the Lord, he couldn't speak. He was, because of his inexperience and because he was so in awe of seeing the Lord, he couldn't speak anything. So then the Lord put the conch shell, his conch shell, on the top of Dhruva's head. And then Dhruva, began to offer prayers as well. And actually, he's saying that once he sees the Lord, he knows that I don't want those riches now. I was looking for a piece of glass compared to seeing the Lord, So now he just wants to serve the Lord. He just wants to associate with pure devotees. And he wants to hear about the Lord's glories. But still we know that the Lord gave him his desire because he was the ruler of, he gave him the pole star. It's called Dhruva Loka. I think that's the name of Dhruva Loka. He gave him what he wanted. He asked for it, what he wanted. So, we see. So I want to read also the prayers. For me, prayers, it's not just chanting that we have to do, but we can pray to the Lord every day, every minute of the day, just offering praises and just glorifying the Lord. I used to think that, chanting was prayers, but as I read the scriptures, everyone's offering prayers all the time. So Dhruva, what he says is, "O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the Nishan ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally existent." So I also brought some other prayers. I'm always reading the prayers, and because I'm also inexperienced, I use these prayers to pray to the Lord. When I took Bhakti Sastri some years ago, the instructor told us, you should pray to the Lord all the time. And she read us some prayers, and she said it's very nice to do so because it keeps your consciousness in remembrance of the Lord and what He's doing for us and what He's given to us and how He's so kind. How He sent us our spiritual master. Where would we be if it wasn't for Srila Prabhupada, for our spiritual masters, for this process of devotional service to the Lord? So, with your permission, I'm going to read a few more prayers. Okay. This one is from, the story of Vitrasura. Vitrasura was what's his name? Chitraketu in his last life. And he became a demon by certain circumstances. It's a short story about how he became a demon, but I'm just going to read the prayer. I won't go into the pastime. He says, "My dear Lord, by leaving your transcendental service, I may be promoted to the planet called Juvaloka, the pole star, or I may gain lordship over all planetary systems of the universe. But I do not aspire to this, nor do I wish the mystic perfections of yoga practice, nor do I aspire to spiritual emancipation. All I wish for, my Lord, is your association and transcendental service eternally." And we can pray, not only pray, for our devotional life or pray to praise the Lord, but pray for other devotees. Pray for devotees, who are having difficulties. Pray for those devotees, in your family. Because prayers for your children, pray for your husband, pray for your wife. Because the Lord hears the prayers. And then this prayer from Prahlad Maharaj, he addresses, he's talking to his classmates, and he's telling them And these are asuras. These are children of Asuric people. But he's preaching to them because he's telling them that I don't care if you're 4 years old or 5 years old, you should be, trying to offer devotional service to the Lord. Don't waste your life. So he says, my dear friends born into atheistic families, if you can please the Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna, then there's nothing more rare in this world. In other words, if the Supreme Lord Krishna is pleased with you, then any desire you may have within the core of your heart can be fulfilled without any doubt. As such, what's the use of elevating yourself by the results of fruitive activities, which are automatically achieved in all events by the modes of material nature? And what is the use of spiritual emancipation or liberation from material bondage if you are always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord and always relishing the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord? Then there's no necessity of any of these. So, always the conclusion in all of the scriptures that we read, the conclusion is, as is stated in Bhagavad-Gita 1866, Sarvadhamma parityaja mamekam saranam vraja aham tvama sarva papebhyo mokshayashami ma sutaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So then the Lord takes all responsibility for one who surrenders unto him. So we have to accept subordination under the Lord. That's the best position, subordination. And I want to share one more thing. When I was reading, it just came to me as I was reading this, but I want to share this with you. In the last verse 78, which I love it so much, is so beautiful. Text 78, it says, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. And he says that is my opinion. And the reason that it came to me was because this Bhagavad Gita is written for us. Arjuna is a pure devotee, but this pastime of reading the Gita is taking place because we need to hear this. This is us. This is all the living entities. And this, in the beginning, on the battlefield, these are the problems that we are facing. So when we say, wherever there's Krishna, the master of all mystics, and Arjuna, and we are all small Arjunas, the supreme archer. So that archer, that means that we have to be one-pointed, we have to be fixed. We know that Arjuna was totally fixed on the eye. His teacher, Dronacharya, was asking him, do you see this? Do you see that? Do you see? Arjuna just kept answering, no, the only thing I see is the eye. And that's for all of us. We have to be one-pointed in our practice of devotional service and keep our eye on the goal. So I just wanted to share that because it's so beautiful. It's such a lovely, lovely, and it pertains to us as living entities. Because whatever Arjuna is going through in the Gita is all of us. And right now we're all going through this demoniac situation that's happening all over the world. So we need Krishna, we need prayers, and we need the holy name. And Krishna will always be there for us. And I'd like to end the class, and I thank you all very much for listening. If there's any, you want to give feedback, or you want comments, or corrections, or additions, I welcome them. No? Okay. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna.